Yo, what's good? What's good? NBA YouTube. It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops, coming to you with another episode of NBA content. Today, we're going to be talking about two of my favorite teams in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. For those of y'all who know me, I don't really follow too many teams. In order for me to follow a team, I got to like the team from the ownership to the organization to the coaching to the players, to the stars, and the direction that they're going. Very few teams meet this qualification. Yeah, I told you, Jamie. I'll be right back. Very few teams meet this qualification. And to be honest with you, Cavaliers barely meet this qualification because I'm not a big fan of their owner. But what this team has become over the years, I respect it. And if y'all saw my earlier videos about what to expect this season, especially from the Eastern Conference, one of the teams I told you to be aware of was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, that was more of a hot take because a lot of people were sleeping on them. They didn't believe in Colin Sexton. They thought they should have traded him. I kept telling y'all there's very few players in the NBA to average 24 points a game on a high efficiency. Very few. And Colin Sexton was one of them. Now, I told you also about the Toronto Raptors. I thought it was obvious, but for some of y'all, it wasn't obvious. I said it was a fluke last season. They got hit with COVID. They played their entire season away from home. So you had no home games. You were all away. It's not just the stadium, it's sleeping in your own bed, in your own home, with your family around you. These players didn't have that for an entire season. And they were in Florida, of all places. Why the hell would you put the Toronto Raptors in Florida? In Florida, where COVID was more rampant, I don't want to say most other states in the United States. And demographically, it was so foreign to anything that the Raptors organization, players, culture was even used to. I mean, at least put them in like Washington or Maine or something like that. Maybe they thought they were going to sell more tickets there. But if you get closer to Canada, you're going to get all those Raptor fans. Either way, I digress. They spent an entire year away from home. And they had a rough season. COVID hit them hard, lots of players out, injuries, but it paid off. Because once they realized they weren't going to make the playoffs and they were just going to step back, they put on one of the best tanks in the NBA. And a team that had just won an NBA championship only a couple seasons earlier got the number 4 pick in the NBA draft. Not just any NBA draft. This NBA draft was lauded years ago. I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago. People were looking at this draft and saying it was going to be incredibly deep. Incredibly deep. Like this was going to be one of the great drafts in the NBA where you have multiple players who become all-stars, if not all NBA level players. Cade Cunningham, the number 1 pick. Jalen Green, the number 2 pick. Evan Mobley, the number 3 pick. And Scotty motherfreaking Barnes. And even though I've had different videos about him, y'all know I rock with Scotty. Rock with Scotty since he was playing in high school with Cade Cunningham and Moses Moody. I rock with him since he was at Florida State, playing point guard at 6'9" in that program where that head coach does not give people the leeway to do whatever they want unless you're ready for it. And he was ready. Then I started listening in the draft, and I said, yo, there's rumblings about this guy. They're starting to call him the next Greek freak. They say this combination of agility and fluidity, athleticism, and size, very few players that can compare. And I said, what happens when you have a Greek freak who's actually a real point guard? Scary. Scary. And so when Scotty Barnes was selected with the number 4 pick, I said, you know what? I'm not mad at all about that. I would have taken him easily over Jalen Suggs. Easily. Easily. Because even though they're very similar players, you want a 6'9" version or 6'3" version. Good job. Good job, Masai Ujiri. Good job. Because your drafted player is probably the runner-up, if not the number 1 selection for Rookie of the Year so far. averaging 18 points a game, almost 9 rebounds, locked down defensively. Good job. Good job. So we're going to dive into this game. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about their outlook. I know I took a little bit of time to get into it, but we're going to jump in. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment, and hit that bell so you get notified for when my new videos do come out. I try to post regularly. This game, if you watched it, two things you're going to come away with. These teams have a sense of identity and direction, along with great young talent. Great young talent. When you watch this team play, you see not just the Toronto Raptors, Scotty Barnes, Delano Banton, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. leading the charge, but they're doing so from a style of play that is extremely deliberate, fine-tuned, and I would dare say, looks like the system of a championship team. The way they move the ball around, great chemistry, trust each other, know where to be. On defense, they're what we call on a string. They move together. If one is helping, another one is covering. If another one closes out, another one is covering the guy that he just left. They move together. They're bought in. They have strong leadership with Fred VanVleet. And most of all, even though they lost this game barely by 1 point, they don't even have their best player, Pascal Siakam, who the way they're playing, he's in the best position because they won't have to rush him back. And when he does come back, he's coming back in the best situation where they don't need him to be awesome from day one. They don't need him to save anything. They just need him to play to his strengths while he gets his rhythm back. And he's able to start playing back at that all-NBA level, which I think he's going to bounce right back into. Right back into. Now for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and even my man, not Josh Okogie, but my Nigerian brother, totally forget his name, Isaac Okoro, drafted last year, lockdown defender, extremely athletic. This young core, once again, just like the Toronto Raptors, is leading the charge. Are we supposed to be back for the Nets game tomorrow? Oh, I can't wait for that. Because the Nets is on struggle. And I'm going to talk more about that later. I think I did a video on it earlier, but we're going to get into that in a little bit at the back end of this video. But what you see with this Cavs team is that they have a young core leading the charge that's also bought in, that understands where to be and what their roles are. They have the leadership finally with Ricky Rubio. Ricky Rubio is one of those unsung veteran guys that's like, honestly, when you're ready to win, that's who you go out and get. When you're trying to turn that corner, that's who you go out and get. Now, both have excellent coaching. And for me, that's a big deal because the coach is the one who's going to maintain this consistency of performance and preparation for a team. And if you have the talent to go along with the coaching, that means that literally every single game, you should be in a position to win. And most of the time, you do. And both of these teams have. I believe they're both now 6-4. And nobody really saw that coming, especially in how stacked the Eastern Conference is. And with teams like the Brooklyn Nets struggling, even the Milwaukee Bucks and Atlanta Hawks, they've taken advantage. And they've positioned themselves to where they're not going to have to play catch up. They're in the playoffs. Right now, they are in the playoffs. And it may seem like a lot to say early on, but 10 games is enough to have a strong assessment of who teams are. Yeah, Ricky Rubio did cut his hair. Ricky Rubio's got some flair. He's got some flair to his game. He's got a little Tyler Hero, I don't really care. I'm about to do what I do. But you almost have to be in the NBA. You got to have flair. You got to have that irrational confidence, as some people say. But it's to say what these Cavs are doing right now is they're showing that not only when we have the strong structure in place, leadership, coaching, system, talent, that you can compete for a playoff position right now, even if you have a young team. They're also showing that the rest of the NBA needs to watch out, needs to look out. We got a team like the Brooklyn Nets who is still waiting on Kyrie Irving. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit too on the back end. Still waiting on their third star to come back. You have a situation where it's like, that's really a hella old team. Now, if you know me, I'm big on old teams. I understand veteran teams win championships, but we're talking about the future. We're talking about the future of the NBA. And right now, you have the Brooklyn Nets, who is the present, maybe in the moment, but definitely not the future. I guarantee you, most of that team won't be there next season. But the Cleveland Cavaliers and Toronto Raptors, you best believe the majority of this team is going to be there next season. You best believe. Not only are they going to be there next season, they're going to be so much better building on what they did this year and last year. You see the change in OG Anunoby. You see the change in guys like Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen. Looks like a monster out there. One of the best centers in the NBA right now. Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley looks like the second coming of Anthony Davis, except he already has an NBA-ready body. He's not as strong, but he's definitely not getting pushed around. He's actually imposing his will, playing extremely physical. Scotty Barnes, same thing. Same thing. Not the second coming of Anthony Davis, the second coming of Giannis. If you saw Giannis when he first came in as a rookie, played very similar. Very similar. Pushing it up the court, trying to get easy transition buckets, using his athleticism and agility and length to be able to finish around guys, and still figuring out how he was going to score in the half court. Now you got to imagine a full season of being in that starting lineup, playing for a winning organization. These guys are going to take a huge jump going into that sophomore year. Expect them to look like fringe all-stars next year. Knock on wood if they stay healthy this year, right? But then you got other guys like Delano Banton, right? I watched him grab a rebound. No, he didn't get a rebound. He got inbounds after a scored bucket and was literally able to beat almost the entire Cleveland Cavaliers roster down court to get fouled on a layup attempt. To be able to do that as a 6'10" guard, 6'10" guard. You have to understand what these Raptors are building here. They are utilizing length, skill, versatility, and youth to be able to press the NBA in a way that they haven't been pressed probably since, I'm trying to think. In a winning format, I haven't seen it before. Losing format, it reminds me of the Clippers back in the day. Elton Brand, Darius Miles, who they had, Quentin Richardson, Corey Maggette, Lamar Odom, Andre Miller. They had this extremely athletic, long, young team that was exciting to watch. But the difference is this team not only has the coaching, but the system and the organization and the structure in place to be able to win with that talent, to be able to win. And they're doing it. So right now, when I'm looking at these teams, a couple things that I'm considering is how big of a jump are they going to take? When they get Pascal Siakam back, it's going to be a problem for the NBA. I know people say that, but it's going to be a real problem. The Raptors are 6-4, beating other playoff teams without their best player, relying on a rookie to score 18 points a game. Gary Trent Jr., first time being in this role in the NBA. Fred VanVleet, same thing. OG Anunoby, same thing. These guys are still figuring it out. They're still figuring it out. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I don't think they're figuring it out as much, but they're putting everybody on notice to where people aren't sleeping on them anymore. Last season, everybody slept on them. And they were just like, oh, they're having a good game here and there, but it's not for real. It's not for real. Colin Sexton, young bull, he can't be a starting shooting guard at 6'1", 6'2". But it was funny because when you look on the West, you got another couple of guards at 6'2" in Portland. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who were able to show that it could be done. And head coach JB Bickerstaff doubled down on that. And he was like, yo, bet, not only can it be done, but we're going to set this team up to even complement them even more. And who they bring it? Ricky Rubio, a guard with size, leadership, experience, and great basketball IQ who could play between both of those guards. Then they picked up Jarrett Allen, and then Evan Mobley, along with Laurie Markkinen. Now, what's crazy about this is they was actually starting 3 7-footers with Evan Mobley playing small forward. Yo, the Cleveland Cavaliers are on that Toronto Raptors tip. We're doing something different. We're not copying everybody. We're not trying to do the same thing everyone else is doing. We're doing something different that you are going to have to game plan for us. You're going to have to figure out how to stop us. How do you stop 3 7-footers who can shoot, who can dive to the basket, who can post up, who can take you off the bounce, who can finish over the top, defend the rim, have length, agility? How are you going to deal with that? The Toronto Raptors, same thing. How are you going to deal with 4 or 5 guys on the court at a time between 6'9" and 6'10"? Who can defend all 5 positions, who can bring the ball up and set up the offense, who can attack you off the dribble and shoot threes, and are going to play amazing, versatile, switchable defense. How are you going to game plan against that? I think what they figured out, that the Golden State Warriors figured out, was that difference is actually how you dominate. Having something different is how you set yourself apart. Having something different is what gives you an opportunity that nobody else has. You can't become the Golden State Warriors. There's only one Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Can't do it. You can't become James Harden and those Houston Rockets. You can't just grab a guy and be like, hey, you're going to play this role and lead us to 60 wins. It's only one James Harden. You have to create something that has not been created yet in the NBA, at least in this time, in these upcoming seasons, that everyone else is going to have to figure out. And these two teams have figured out what it is going to be for them. Cleveland, heavy guard play with great size and versatility on the inside. Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. had like six steals. I told y'all about him. I told y'all he was going to be a great defender. He was the best defender in Portland a couple of years ago when he was in the playoffs with him in the bubble. Right? How are you going to defend this level of versatility on both ends in Toronto? You're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to deal with us. That's what these two organizations are saying. You are going to have to figure out how to deal with us. We're not going to have to figure out how to deal with you. Joel Embiid, okay, that's great. You're going to get yours, but we're going to be able to shut down everybody else with our length and versatility. And we're going to press you every single time. So Embiid, if you ain't in great shape, we ain't going to see you in the fourth quarter. You're going to be ran dog tired. And that's how they're setting it up. And so when I see these two teams, I'm seeing the future. I'm seeing the future. Yo, if you can't do something different, you're going to get beat just like everybody else. There's only one LeBron. There's only one Stephen Curry. There's only one James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. And just because I said I was going to talk about it, Brooklyn needs to stop playing. Because if they mess around and allow Kyrie Irving to leave and go someplace like Toronto, what? Go to one of these teams that's on the fringes and need a guy that can literally create for himself at any time and get a bucket. Yo, if this Toronto team had Kyrie Irving, do you know what they would do? Do you know what they would do? And so when you look at how the league is shaping up right now, even Portland, yo, they struggling. Dame is struggling. And if they get to 25 games and they're still a number 10 seed, 11 seed, or have a losing streak, they might blow that thing up. Straight up. They're going to blow it up. You're going to see two guys hit the market. CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. And don't let the Raptors get one of those guys. Don't let the Raptors get one of those guys. A guy who can literally create a shot at any time against anyone. It's the one thing that they're lacking. That's it. They got everything else. Maybe they can get a higher caliber center. Sure. I like Precious Achiuwa, but I don't know if he's ready for the playoffs. But everything else, it's in place. Don't let the Raptors make a deal with Portland and get CJ McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic. What? If they get those two, I'm shutting it down. You got Nurkic with Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, because you know they're not training him at all. It's not happening. They'll give up a bunch of picks and get those guys and give up some maybe Precious Achua and some young guys and some contracts. You let the Raptors pick up players like that, yo, I'm gonna see them in the finals. I'm gonna see them in the finals. And so that's gonna be it for today's video. Please like, subscribe. Looking forward to Pascal Siakam coming back. I can't wait to see what they do with the lineup. I love OG Anunoby, but I don't know if you start him over Scotty Barnes. That's something to revisit. That's something to revisit. Because no matter how much he's grown and improved, is he really going to take you to the promised land? So who do you put on the bench? OG or Gary Trent Jr.? They're going to have to figure it out. But with that, I'm out. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can know when I post new videos. Hope you enjoyed. If you leave some comments, I'll definitely make sure to respond to them. And my man, I Jammy from the 905. So good to see you again, bro. Peace.